My name's Steve Malvaso. I'm the Associate Director for Student Athlete Success, finishing up my 4th year here at Hopkins. And previously I was at the University of Iowa working with football and men's and women's track, doing athletic academic advising. In terms of supporting Division III student athletes, primarily I work with them on the Return to Learn program. So that is when student athletes get some sort of injury that limits their ability to go to class. So something like a concussion or an injury that requires surgery where they're going to have to miss class for some period of time. I'll work with the faculty as a liaison to help them understand the severity of the situation and the need to create some sort of opportunity for student athletes to still do all their work in the class, still stay on top of everything, but keeping in mind the need to recover, especially in the case of a concussion, cognitively, so that way they're not setting themselves further back or at the very least delaying the healing process. And then beyond that, it's providing things like travel letters. So at the beginning of every athletic season, I'll provide all of our student athletes with travel letters to start the conversation with faculty at the beginning of the semester to say, hey, there may be an off chance that I have to miss class on this day. Just wanted to start the conversation now so that way we can figure out any alternate arrangements, if that's okay with you, in terms of potential testing situations or group projects and presentations and things of that nature, so that way faculty are well prepared and student athletes are being proactive in being able to figure out those arrangements so that both of those experiences can still complement each other. One of the other things that's really important for me in working with D3 student athletes is helping them in the situations where they may be getting support, but it may not necessarily be enough support in the way that acknowledges fully how important their athletic experience is in conjunction with their academic experience. So every student at Johns Hopkins has an academic advisor, but the benefit of being a Division III student athlete here is that I will function at times as a supplemental advisor in some ways. So if they're trying to figure out how to progress through their major or through their minor, and there may be a piece of advice given to them in terms of how they should sequence their courses, and they feel like, this might not necessarily work in terms of trying to balance everything that I'm doing, there are times when I'm able to step in and help and say, hey, have you thought about doing it this way? Maybe rearrange these courses so that way you feel like you have a little bit more balance in season versus out of season, and you're not gonna fall off track. Or maybe, hey, have you thought about potentially doing something over the summer so that way you can offset a little bit of course load in a way that a standard academic advisor may not necessarily be thinking about because their entire role isn't focused on serving student athletes. So being able to think about those things, being able to think about potentially changing majors, because the average college student still changes their major 3.2 times over the course of their college career. And being able to acknowledge the fact that sometimes that's okay because your interests change when you get exposed to things and when you know new things, your perspective and your purpose and your interests will change inevitably in some way, and sometimes that comes in the form of changing your major or changing your minor. And I can also step in to help figure out, okay, how do we go from where we are now to where you want to be, and again, still be able to maximize the athletic experience as part of it. I think the situation is very different for every student athlete, right? They may be going into some fields that make sense to go work before they go to graduate school, but some of them may also be going into fields where graduate school and professional school right away makes sense, right? And part of that is working as a bridge between the academic experience and life design, so that way student athletes are able to kind of bounce back and forth as they see fit or as they feel like is helpful for them to be able to understand, okay, what might be the best next step for me and how might I go about that, right? And it may be things as little as helping them understand what the standardized test process might look like or what a good personal statement looks like. But for some of them, depending on how much we've worked together, it may be a letter of recommendation, it may be helping them learn how to reach out to faculty in graduate programs to start to build those relationships even before the admissions process starts. Some of the hidden curriculum stuff that still goes on in the graduate and professional school process, I want to make sure it isn't hidden for anybody here. I think this role is great for me because as somebody who is an academic at heart, somebody who's pursuing a PhD, who's published research, the opportunity to have relationships with faculty and speak the language that they are and be able to work with them so closely in a way that ultimately benefits students is really meaningful, because it's an opportunity to continue to elevate the meaning of this experience for not just our student athletes, but for the faculty, for the other staff on campus, for the entire community, to help maybe shine some light on a part of the world that they know is there and they think it's great that we're successful, but they may not necessarily have a full in-depth knowledge of what it means to be a student athlete at Hopkins and what it means to be at the top of the world in what it is that you do. And having a new group of people kind of come into the fold to understand us and to be able to embrace us in a way that maybe they never have before, because they never knew they had the opportunity to.